Hey guys, Anthony here with OSR Gunsmithing, and today I'm going to take you through kind of what a professional gun cleaning entails. So I've got here this nice Stoger that someone clearly hunts with. I don't know. We'll get close-up shots later. But this gun is extremely dirty, and I just kind of wanted to take you through and show y'all what happens when you take a gun to a gunsmith for a proper cleaning. So for us, the first thing we do is when we interact with the customer, or someone else out there interacts with the customer, we find out their wants and needs. We'll just kind of go over the gun briefly. Like this gun specifically has a stuck choke that we're going to have to remove. We'll also go over the gun, make notes of certain things. Like one of the first things I noticed is the plugs on it here. 2 of them are missing. If it's got this one has the bead on it, but you'd be surprised at how many guns come in with a broken bead. So we'll take little notes of that, and then we'll start a disassembly and inspection. I just kind of wanted to add what's included with this, with professional gun cleaning, and why it's important to take your gun to someone like a gunsmith periodically for cleaning. So one of the things, the benefit of bringing it out to a professional is we have experience, right? So I can look at pretty much any gun and kind of tell you where the flaws are in it, what we commonly see, what I know to inspect, right? The other thing is an inspection, right? So we fully disassemble every gun that comes in for a cleaning, and I'll take you along for that process too. But it's fully disassembled, and while we're doing that, we are also inspecting the gun. So we know where to look for what specifically, and that's all done there. We go through, we'll clean it, and I have different methods of cleaning it depending on what gun it is, what time frame it's from, how dirty it is, whatever, and that's a whole nother thing. And then reassembly, lubrication, and test fire. We got to make sure the gun works too. So I just kind of wanted to briefly explain that to you guys, but we'll jump into the gun now. Hopefully this angle works for you guys. If it doesn't, let me know and we can move. I'll move the camera next time. This isn't really going to be like a how-to video or anything like that. I'm not going to go through telling you exactly what we're doing, this, that, and the other, but our first step here is going to be making sure the gun's clear. We did that a long time ago when I grabbed the gun off the shelf, and everyone else who's touched the gun here has also verified that it's completely clear. But we're just going to start taking the gun apart now. This is one of those little touches that you're going to get when you go to a professional service here, is having the right tools to do the job. So for us here, I got a special screwdriver bit that's specifically for recoil pads. It fits in there, it doesn't tear up your recoil pad, and then we also use some type of like grease or lubricant on it, so it just spins freely in there and doesn't tear up your recoil pad. That way everything looks original and there's no signs of wear or anything. Alright, so the stock bolt on this specific gun is another one of those instances where having the right tool for the job kind of matters here. It makes your life a little bit easier. This here is just a specific bit that goes on ratchet specifically for these types of screws. The other thing here is, for us, if you have a shotgun that has like a cast and cant on it, we'll take note of how you have your gun set up and we'll write it down. And that way, whenever we put this all back on here, you're not going to have any issues shouldering your shotgun. Obviously, this doesn't apply to other firearms, but specifically on shotguns, it does. And here's a little before of the inside of the receiver. It's all dirt and grime. You see the rails. That's where the barrel extension would go. Let's see. One of the reasons we wanted to show you this gun in particular for this video here is how dirty this gun is. This isn't abnormal for us to see something that comes in looking like this. This is just clearly someone's hunting gun that they use and love. And some of y'all might argue about, oh, well, you know, who lets their gun get that dirty? Guys that use them do. But I'm going to take this trigger group apart in a second, but I just kind of wanted to show you a good before. So as you guys can see, you know, we got this trigger group apart. Some of this stuff is absolutely filthy here, and I just wanted to kind of go through and show you once everything's out, you know, how rough it is. And you know, as each step goes along here, I'm looking at each thing, I'm inspecting it, making sure, you know, like none of the springs are broken or none of the pieces are cracked or anything like that. Alright, so the next step for this gun is going to be throwing it in our ultrasonic cleaner. We have a Lyman Power Pro. You all saw how dirty this gun was. This is going to remove some of that gunk. We're still going to have to clean it after it comes out of this. This is not some magic talisman that you throw your gun into and it comes out crystal clean. It's got a little sauce mixture in here, and we're going to throw the parts in here that can go in here. I apologize in advance for the noise. What you're hearing is our ultrasonic cleaner in the background. So as I said, that thing can't clean everything, right? And there's only certain stuff I can put in there. So things like this receiver that was hydro dipped, I don't know if it was from the factory or not, but if you put this in here, it'll tear off the clear coat and it'll mess the whole thing up, and we'll owe someone a hydro job. So that's where this comes in. This is our hot shot. It's an industrial steamer, right? So as you see, it's got the little nozzle on it, and it also has the foot pedal that actuates the nozzle. And it, you'll see here, it sprays out steam. And we can control whether it's like a dry spray or how much liquid there is in it. But this works wonderfully for getting the inside of receivers done, and I'll show you that. And then we do this over a trash can, as you can kind of see the end of it here, because, you know, we're not heathens, all right? Alright, after the ultrasonic, we're going to go through and kind of just re-inspect all of our parts, see what needs to be cleaned further, and see what's done. like on, you know, something like the back of this trigger, there's, I know you guys probably can't see this, but there's a little bit of trash still in there, and in here on the trigger group itself, there's still a bunch of garbage in here, and down here. So that's going to need further cleaning. But certain things like, you know, the spring, like stuff like that, isn't probably going to need more than the ultrasonic goes. We can just go through and inspect it as we dry it off. For the remainder of this stuff that needs to be cleaned a little bit further, we're going to use things like brushes, scrapers, picks, and probably mostly the steamer that I showed you earlier, and go through and get the some of the stuff that the ultrasonic can't get. I just wanted to talk real quick about cleaning recoil pads. This is one of those things that I kind of view as like, you know, when you get your car detailed or something like that, and them cleaning the tires on it, you know, and putting a little bit of tire shine on it. Recoil pads are notoriously a little hard to clean, because, especially if you hunt with your gun, because it accumulates like dirt and mud, it kind of gets embedded in there. The steamer does a pretty good job of getting all that out of there. You can also use a little bit of real fine steel wool. That doesn't do as good of a job as that steamer, but not everyone's going to own one of them. If you saw in that clip, though, I went through and I steamed each of these holes, right? I know it's not really going to be able to show all that well, but inside of there, they're just black. Clean them out, right? It's those little details that separate a true professional service versus just like, oh, you and your buddy are cleaning the gun. Now, some people are going to be like, oh, well, I don't really care about that, but we do. And it's all the little details that go into cleaning the entire gun. My goal here is to make your gun look as close as I can to when you bought it, right? I want to clean it that good. It's obviously going to have your wear and tear still on it, but that's how clean I want your gun to be. By this point, you guys kind of have an idea of what we do to clean the metal surfaces, or stuff that we can use our bigger machines on, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about stock sets. And this is I thought a specifically good one, because it's a pretty well used hydro dip stock, which I don't know if the wear comes through the camera or not, but you know, you might be able to see stuff like that, right? And around here, all that's worn down. So the reason I'm showing you that is, these are areas that we have to be careful of here, right? You're going to get dirt, sand, grime up in your grip where there's like the pressed in checker in here, okay? Well, I got to clean all that out. Usually there's mud on them and stuff, and I can't put them in the hydro tank, as I stated earlier, because it's going to ruin your dip job. I can lightly use the brush on the buffer, and that'll do a pretty good job, but I have to be mindful and keep a very close eye on what this finish here is doing. If I see it wanting to start tearing off or anything like that, I got to stop. I can't do that. The steamer is a good resource, and you'll see me use that in a minute to clean out this checkering area, but again, I have to keep a very close eye on what the finish here is doing. Once you start breaking through the clear coat on these, and then the film, any type of like pressurized thing like the steamer, or any type of like the wheel on the buffer, will want to start ripping those edges. They're so fine you can't feel them with your hand, but the machines will want to peel them off there, and that's obviously not something we want to do. So for cleaning these, I'll start off with the steamer, see how that does, and then we might actually end up going over to steel wool and just kind of going over it real finely with steel wool and cleaning all this stuff out of here. As far as inside of the stocks go, usually these get real rusty, and there'll be a lot of mud and dirt and grime in them. Those we'll just steam out the best we can, maybe use a paper towel to shove down in there and try to get them all out. But that's kind of what we do to clean stocks. The specific camo pattern on this stock doesn't really lend itself well to being able to see this, but there's pretty heavy dirt all up in the edges of this and in the checkering, and the steamer is actually doing a really good job of getting it all out of here. So we're going to roll on with that. I wanted to show you all some good shots of the barrel extension here on this gun. What you're looking at here is the area where the locking lugs and the bolt go, and as you can see they're all full of all sorts of different dirt and grime and just kind of overall gross stuff. Like there's a big clump of stuff right there. Eventually what this will do is it'll actually interact with the way your bolt locks up into the gun, and you can actually see cycling issues from your gun being so dirty here. So this is a critical area for us to be looking for and inspecting and cleaning. A few things I want to talk about the barrel real quick when we're cleaning shotguns here. One, you can see kind of the after here, how clean that looks in there. No more gunk and harsh buildup in the locking lug area here. The second thing is shotguns, you know, your barrel, you can see there's a seam right here. Well, from here over is your barrel extension, right? This is actually threaded on your barrel, so we make sure that those are good and tight. You'd be surprised at how many guns that come in that's loose and we have to correct that. So that's one thing to look out for. Choke area, the threads are all clean as you've seen. But this is a very critical area, especially for shotguns. So it requires a little extra detail, but I wanted to kind of just point that out to y'all real quick. And then also for the barrels, we had to take the bead off. I don't know how well this is going to show with the focal ranges of this camera here. We had to take the bead off because we needed to remove the choke tube on it. But the bead is pretty dirty. It's obviously a fiber optic. This is one of the areas that we'll pay attention to. Also, we'll actually make sure we clean this and make sure it looks good. That might be something that's normally looked over. Next thing about the barrel is going to be the choke tube, right? I showed you all cleaning the choke tube, but then there's also preventative maintenance on the choke tube. And all that's going to require is some type of choke tube lubricant or grease. In our case here, like I got a tub of Rig, just universal gun grease. Stuff works good. And just put a thin layer on it, make sure it's fully coated, and when you're screwing your choke tubes in, like especially for us once we clean them, we want to do it all by hand and make sure that we don't feel any resistance, we don't feel any dirt, grime, or anything in there, and make sure that the threads are completely clean and well engaged. Alright, now we're about to begin the reassembly process now that everything's cleaned. This is going to give us one opportunity, or one last opportunity, to kind of inspect everything, go over it, make sure everything looks good, nothing's broken, cracked, or in need of repair. At this time we're also going to lubricate the gun. I got everything kind of spread out here on the bench, and we're going to start reassembling it now. Now that everything's all assembled, we'll run a preliminary function test on the firearm. So make sure everything cycles, make sure the bolt locks back, make sure the bolt release works, trigger works, trigger resets, and safety works. Now we're ready to test fire. This is our little bitty test fire room. We designed this room specifically to house our bullet trap in here. So PPE is essential, and let's go. If you remember earlier, I kept talking about how the little details matter the most, right? So on these, after we test fire them, yeah, they're good to go out the door. But we take it a little extra step, and for this gun, like, I'm going to take off the barrel. I'll re-clean the inside of the barrel real quick just to get rid of any of that carbon built or unburnt powder or anything that's in the barrel to make it look like that nice clean mirror shine that I showed you earlier. And we don't have to go crazy here. This is literally just running another quick patch down there just to give it a quick cleanup pass. That's all this is. Finally, we're going to reinstall his sling. All good to go. The last step for us is going to be filling out our work orders. They have a little comment section in them that we always fill out, and if we don't get to speak to the customers whenever they pick up the guns, all the notes will be on there so any of our staff can speak to them and explain what happened. That's it. That is what entails a professional gun cleaning. I hope this video was relatively informative for you. For me, it was kind of a different perspective to kind of step back and make sure I had to film it and kind of explain what I'm looking at here. Because, I mean, that's kind of the difference between me cleaning your gun and you cleaning your gun. All those extra little steps to inspect things, make sure everything's functioning fine. This gun was a well-used hunting gun, and now it's worn, but it's super clean and ready to go for who knows how many more hunts before it'll need another cleaning. If you guys have any questions about cleaning or anything like that, just let me know in the comments below. I'm going to put probably some links to some of the stuff that you might see me using throughout the video in the description, and feel free to comment and let me know what you guys want to see next. Alright guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you.